Excellent. All right. I believe that we are live. So thanks everyone for joining another episode of the OpenJS Foundation's Cross-Project Council meeting. Today is the 28th of March, 2023. And we can get things started. Do we have any announcements?
Not a real announcement, but a little memo. We're approaching the end of the applications for the Collaborators Summit call for sessions. But I will try to send another email to the CPC private list, another memo also to some of the organizations. If anybody needs more time, I'd be more than happy to extend a little bit. Otherwise, I would start, planning the time and etc. for each session, create the actual schedule for the summit. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and thank you, Claudio. That reminds me, I'm going to add something to my to-do list to figure out if there are any CPC collab summit stuff. But I think definitely want to do a security related one. So I will make a note of that. Any other announcements?
Well, just if you haven't booked travel, I think there's still some travel block hotels, but for OpenJS World, again, the 9th is the Collab Summit in Vancouver. The 10th through the 12th is OpenJS World, which is an event under the Open Source Summit event. So it'll be a lot of fun, a lot of folks there. Vancouver is a cool city. And then you'll see we'll be in Spain in September, and it's maybe a little confusing, but CFPs will open for that in the next few weeks. But make sure you get those sessions to Claudio on GitHub for the Collab Summit May 9th in Vancouver. We still have a few slots that we're putting some speakers in for OpenJS World, but it's coming together nicely.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Book OpenJS World Travel, friends. And then CFP for JS World. I can write OpenJS World EU, and that's cool. Then sometime soon. Okay, cool. All right, there are a couple of notes. Great. If there aren't any other announcements, I guess I'll ask if there are any board updates. Sarah or Robin? No? We'll take a few minutes in private session to review the board meeting slides. Cool. So if we get into the agenda, oh, sorry, go ahead, Robin.
I think, I don't know if we covered on a board update, but I don't know if many of you knew that Todd Moore left IBM. He was the president of the OpenJS board. And Todd is now at the Linux Foundation. And so we have a new IBM director, Maximilian at IBM. So that's great. So just some changes there, and you'll see Todd probably more visible at the Linux Foundation. So.
Great, and that does remind me, we have another announcement that we should make about Ben joining as well.
Yes. Welcome, Ben. Is this your first CPC meeting? I feel like you've been here, been amazing from day one.
Maybe this is telling, but I'm not sure. I may have been one my first week, but the little bit of a meeting overload currently. So yeah, maybe, but I don't think I've met a lot of you before. So anyway, I'm 1 week and a couple of days in, so working really closely with Robin currently, and yeah, it's great to be here. I had a couple of meetings with some folks on this call, including Joe, just to get to know the work a little bit better. But yeah, really happy to be here. There's a lot I don't know still, so if I'm missing anything, like, I won't feel bad if you call me out. That's how I learn. So please let me know.
So Ben is our new
Go ahead, Robin.
Ben's our new program director, PM. He joins us from Mozilla. It's very cool. Lives in Portland, Oregon. So he's on West Coast time with a lot of our team. It's cool. Yeah. But we serve you all time zones. We love time zones. No.
Yeah, happy to have you, Ben. Will not fault you if you don't know something. Our documentation is sometimes obscure
Thank you.
in weird places. And stuff, so, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. All right. Well, with that, we will jump into the agenda. The first item I have on the list is 1029, issue 1029. Ben Hutton opened this a couple of weeks ago. Is a project okay to use? I think the contributor covenant code of conduct 2.1 before OpenJS Foundation does. This shouldn't be a block. Toby says this shouldn't be a blocker to onboard. You can resolve. I think that our goal is to get to 2.1, and I think that we're really, really close. So while I think this is a good question, I think it could be moot, hopefully, in the not too distant future. But I mean, maybe the question still remains if the contributor covenant increases, do we have any restrictions on projects to adopt the newest one before we get around to, officially adopting it as well?
I'd be fine with that.
I would too. I would say maybe a case by case basis, but in general, it would be fine. I mean, I guess I would expect that if there was some issue, we would bring it up and talk about it. But otherwise, the expectation is that it should be fine.
Is there any possible issue that could be brought because of a project adopting the new covenant code of conduct, while the rest of the foundation is not yet under the same umbrella? Just wondering.
I'm sure that there's something, but I can't think of anything. I think just, I mean, I can't think of anything specific.
Sometimes there's areas where we can just flesh out areas of nuance and customize it for our specific foundation. And a contributor covenant is good with that. So that's where you could get out of sync. But we haven't gotten there yet. So.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about too. But I think the changes that we end up trying to work on are specific to our situation where we kind of sit above the projects. But projects themselves, probably, I wouldn't expect would run into such issues. So yeah, I think generally speaking, it would seem fine. Cool. If anyone wants to comment further on that issue, feel free. If not, I'll try to remember to put something in there as well. We'll keep moving on. If anybody wants to add any notes in the doc, that's great too. We don't have Sean Larkin on, but the next issue is enabling payments for GitHub code spaces for projects. I see some comments at the end here. I don't know, Ben, if you have any.
Yeah, I can speak to this. We implemented
Spendesk.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I see Sean is waiting actually in the waiting list too, so we can all talk more about it. But go ahead, Ben.
Oh yeah, so I think we've got a decent solution for this using Spendesk, which allows you to have virtual credit cards that have limits in it. The funky part here, right, is we're trying to enable billing on an organization that's not under OpenJS. And so it's detailed in there, but I basically had to be added as a billing manager, and we use that virtual credit card. So I think the things that are outstanding here is maybe two things on my side. One is just making sure that this is accounted for internally in our budgeting to the right code so that we track that properly. And the second is figuring out how to have not my email address be the billing contact and have it be one that is more than one person has access to, so that if something happens to me in the future, right, that those things don't get messed up. So we're using me for now so that doesn't block, but I have those two other tasks to sort out. And Sean, nice to see you in person.
Yeah, likewise.
Even if it's virtually.
It's funny because I was actually trying to send somebody my office hours, and I looked at the calendar, I saw the meeting, I was like, oh! So it was perfect timing, as you can tell. Yeah. Obviously, very intentional.
All right, cool. So that makes sense, Ben. Thanks for clarity there. And Mateo comments too that Node.js org might need a similar setup too. So this is good that we're making progress here and figuring things out. Cool. Yeah. Excellent. If there's nothing else to add there, I'll move along.
Yeah, I think everything's short up on my side. If there is like a shared GitHub account that needs to get added, I can do that as well instead of just an email. So feel free and let me know.
Great. Cool. And again, if anybody can drop any notes into the meeting minutes, that would be really helpful. And then I can just keep moving on here. Issue 1003 is next. This is create some documentation around the collaboration model of OpenJS projects. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think this is a good idea. It just maybe needs to be worked on.
And I volunteered to help Matteo. I think he has some speaking gigs as well, but I think we'd all love to have something drafted. And sometimes having a speaking session helps drive deadlines for us. So I'll work offline with him.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Matteo and Robin on this. Thinking about speaking sessions too. Cool. All right, that'll be great. Next on here, Yagiz is our patching script. This is issue 910.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So all of the issues are resolved. Emily just approved the pull requests. I think we can merge it.
Great. Claudio, it looks like you added yourself to review, but I don't think that you have reviewed. So if you want to take a look at that, that'd be great. Otherwise, we got a bunch of reviews here. We need to just maybe get it up to date with the base branch, and then
sorry, about the PR from Yagnis.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. I think he added actually me as a reviewer, but
okay.
Probably yes.
Either way,
that sounds reasonable.
but I can review it. Yes, I think I did only a one-time review a long time ago in the initial version, because for me it was already like good enough for me back then.
Yes.
But I can definitely give a second pass if that's needed.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be great if you don't mind just peeking at it, and then we'll merge that. Or I'll work with you, Yagiz, to figure out what the next steps are, because I think we need to be.
Okay, and can you add to the meeting docs that this might lead to some bugs, and I will be actively working if there's an issue, because whenever we update the patching script, we expect a pull request to be automatically created by the script, and yeah, there might be some bugs.
Yeah, so why don't you and I can find some time to look at what next steps are, and I'm happy to.
Yeah, of course. Sounds good.
Looks like we lost Claudio, but they are joining back. Cool. Great. And that's once we get that done, we will be able to move forward on the next issue as well, which is update contributor covenants to V2.1, which is basically just waiting for us to get some of this other stuff in place, and then we can move forward. I think that's a PR that will probably close, since we'll have other stuff in place that will supersede it. So no need to get into that. The next item is 815. This is license check support and tooling. I think the last thing I remember talking about this was that I was going to talk to you, Michael Dawson, to see if this is something that would satisfy the original thought, which was a long time ago, November 26, 2021. And I think the LF is looking at integrating it, but just in terms of like our use, is this something that we would want to just adopt as an individual tool, or think about the LF implementation, or what we want to do?
Sorry, what individual tool?
Sorry, this is a license scanner. IBM open sourced it to OWASP. It finally went public, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And so it is a license and legal scanner. And so it's something that we could build into the OpenJS Foundation, at least, for our projects. So I don't know, if you want, you and I can take a look at it later and
Sure, it might make sense, although like the original thought was like, do we have one or not scanning through all the licenses, because I think there was original checks for that, but
yeah, so are you thinking
still might make sense, but
yeah. Okay. And is the thought like new projects coming in, or
yeah, we're always creating new repositories, right? And so, yes, scanning deeply for licenses might be nice, but less complicated is just, hey, we've just created a new repo. Did we create a license for it? And right now that happens several times a month. And do we have a license every time? Well, if people happen to think about it or not is the really simple. The simple idea I had is like, if we had something that just says, do our repos have the basic requirements that we have for projects or not? And it would help maintainers know if there's any problems.
yeah, interesting. And so that could be something that we run across all of our projects on some sort of time schedule, just to check orgs and repos, not too deeply, but to see if everything lines up.
Yeah, it would just be hey, as a project, the node project could run that, like you said, on an interval, and it would tell us, oh, by the way, you've got these 3 that don't have licenses, right? And you could expand that. I think like the deep license checking is a much more complicated thing, right? Like that comes out with like, hey, you've got these licenses and those licenses, and then you got to figure out, is that okay or not? And is it a false? Is it a duplicate? Like, and then there's different names for all sorts of licenses. So, but not having one at all is a pretty simple check that like somebody should action right away and say, oh, well, if we have none, we really should have one, right? You could make the same thing for like, well, we need to have a code of conduct. We have to have one, or, I don't know what it is, but there's, very simple requirements that it would be nice that it'd be more than just an ad hoc. Yeah, we managed to keep on top of them.
Yeah, so I can see this as like 2 separate things. One, we could use it at the foundation to just kind of every once in a while survey and see what things look like. And I think it would be good to expand to code of conduct as well, and just make sure that things haven't changed without us noticing, and then we have some issue. But then additionally, maybe another benefit could be we could develop some guidance in our project resources directory about projects using these scanners, and how some cursory instructions on how to use it, and say, for example, the Node.js org.
That's really why I opened it here, is like the project could come up with something. LJ said he had a tool.
Yeah.
But like my thought was the foundation should be interested and care enough about helping with these minimal checks that like we could increase the chances significantly by doing something that each project didn't have to figure out themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking a couple of quick notes so I can come back to this. Okay. Great. All right, cool. Well, we have the tool. We can look and see how it serves either of those purposes and see about moving forward. Great. The next item here is 786, issue 786, clarify requirements around code of conduct violation. This one's just been open for a while. There's a checklist, a few comments down that we're basically going to review once we get the patching script in place and the code of conduct sort of stabilized. And then we'll go through this checklist and see if there are things that we're missing, and kind of maybe build some issues out of that. So this is kind of just staying open for the time being, but I expect we'll be able to close it sometime soon. And then I added that in the wrong spot. I'm going to put that there, but we'll leave that board slide review for a private session. But there is an issue in the standards repo, issue 213. Jory created this. This is Secure the Web Forward workshop, call for papers.
Yeah.
You want
I
to?
can cover that. Yeah, we are, Jory and I are on the program committee for the W3C workshop. It's a little bit different than a conference, so they're more in-depth discussions. It's June 7th and 8th in London at the Microsoft Reactor Space. And OpenJS and OpenSSF and OWASP are partnering with W3C on this. So April 24th is the CFP deadline, essentially, to get your papers in. Space is limited, so we'll be looking at that. So when you do, if you do want to come, you'll be sent a little form that asks, why do you want to come? Because they are really interactive discussions, again, a little bit different than a typical conference. So our capacity is about 120. And their website with the forms are linked on that issue.
And so what is the ask then for this? Is this for attendees or actual like workshop submissions?
Workshop submissions.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Great.
And if there's something you're interested in, you put it on the form, there may be a paper submitted, and then you may want to join a panel on that. So the program committee will work to curate a really good event.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Great. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Usually at this point, we try to figure out what's on for the working session. I think last week, I don't remember what happened, but I think maybe I was busy and stuff was going on and we didn't do a working session, if I remember correctly. Oh yeah, we did like kind of an async working session. And so yeah, Gies has made more progress. I expect that maybe he and I can find some time before the next working session, get some of that stuff in place. And then what I propose is that we figure out the remaining items that's on the kind of code of conduct stuff, which includes like the moderation team and start to kind of document what that would look like. And just make sure we kind of are buttoning up our code of conduct issues, outstanding issues and concerns, and that we kind of wrap up that chunk of work, which I feel like has been, you know, a box in our garage that we keep wanting to go through, but we're there. We're really close, so that's great. Any objections to that for the working session for next week, or any other thoughts or anything? Not, I will book that in the issue that has the schedule, and I'll add it here as well. So cool. That kind of wraps up the agenda and whatnot. I guess the one thing I should mention, because there is the regularly review our dates and reminders. Sarah's board seat expired a month or more ago, about a month ago. And so we still need to get that election going. So that's top of mind. And then I think the CPC chair ends at the end of April. So we'll want to start to work on that as we start to approach April as well. So.
And Ben and I have been working on the election process because the board is going through the elections, and we can just time it together as well with CPC.
Okay, perfect. Great. Cool. Well, that's all I have. Does anybody have anything else for the public session? Not, I will end the stream. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you next time around.